Gordon, what do we got in this box?
We have MSI's brand new GE65 Raider. I'm gonna start unboxing it. Key detail on this one, we're a little late because everybody's been mired in Ryzen land, but this is my first 8-core 9th gen Intel processor. I'm a little late, I apologize, but this thing I've been really looking forward to seeing. That 8 cores, we're talking 8 cores. Of course, you know, Apple's doing it, everybody's doing it now, but I haven't seen this in a gaming laptop. I really want to see how it does against older 6-core 8th gen 8750s, as well as the new 9th gen 9750, but also the GE65 has kind of gone through a renaissance. You've probably seen the GE65 in the past. Not as nice as the GS series, GS15, GS17, super thin, super luxury, just wonderful laptops. Really sort of changed people's views of what you can do in a thin laptop. GE not quite as luxury, but check this out. It's gotten a lot smaller. This may surprise you because GE, you sort of think, well, GE's always like kind of clunky. This is not, you know, not. Luckily, we happen to have a lot of laptops that are getting ready to go back from the last review cycle. Let's compare this again. GE65, about 5 pounds. Let's check it out. We're going to make sure. 5 pounds, right on the money.
Sweet.
So 5 pounds, 15-inch panel, 1920 by 1080, 240 hertz panel, 8-core, 9th gen, RTX 2070. This particular model, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD. You know it ain't going to be cheap, but let's see how it compares. Perky lighting. You got buttloads of venting on the bottom. It's basically one big ass vent. Why don't we just make it all one big vent, folks? One thing we should go over are ports. Kensington lock, this is the left side. Full size HDMI 2.0. Gigabit Ethernet using a killer NIC part. Mini display port 1.2. A USB Type A that MSI calls Lightning. We'll figure out what that is. A USB-C port Gen 2. That means 10 gig, but not Thunderbolt 3 apparently. 2 analog ports, input output. An SD card reader. 2 more Type A's. They also use the word, again, that word Lightning. And a barrel charger for possibly one big ass giant power brick. Let's first compare it to its sibling, the beautiful GS65. As you can see, there is a difference. They're about the same weight. Actually, let's make sure. I think this is about 4.5 pounds. I'm going to make sure. So this is lighter, 4 pounds 6 ounces. You can see the GE65 definitely thinner. The GS65, you're getting basically the whole monitor. The GS65 is as thick as the body on the GE65. Although GE65, really not bad. It used to be, I remember it being a lot thicker.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
It's really not bad. GS65, lovely, super thin. Acer Predator Triton 500, very similar. A little bulkier than the GS65, also thinner. I actually feel like the GE65 here might compete a little more with Predator Helios 300. Great laptop for the money. If you ain't got a lot of money but you want a lot of gaming performance, this is a great laptop to get. But it's very similar, right? It doesn't have that luxury feel. This is aluminum body, but it's, you know, it's got that sort of wide bottom, that big butt of that Helios, right? So it's kind of similar. Just for reference, because people love to see these things, we also have our current Alienware M15 with the OLED panel, just getting ready to go back. Hey, it's coming back, it's coming back. You can see the M15, pretty bulky. It's actually almost similar in size to that GE65, but this is a pretty high-end laptop. It's got a 4K OLED panel. Beautiful, just beautiful. Look at that, it's luxury there. And of course, one more comparison for budget land. This is a Dell G7. This is a high-end laptop compared to the Dell. Dell's thinner. Definitely that's going to cost more. It's going to be faster, but people just like to see precise comparisons.
Interesting.
It does feel like, as far as body type, it's probably closer to the Helios 300, right? It's very similar.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Very similar. But there's a lot in here. 2070, 8-core, 9th gen, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD. What we're going to do is we are going to kick up a few quick CPU benchmarks. You've already seen the RTX 2070. There ain't nothing new here. I want to see how that 8-core does against these other laptops. We'll be right back. Stand by, see how fast it is. Hey, we're back. I just ran some quick benchmarks on MSI's GE65 Raider. Got that right, didn't screw it up. Big news, of course, for me, first time I've seen an 8-core Coffee Lake CPU. It is specifically, I believe, the Core i9-9880H. No technical overclocking capability, but that's okay. 8 cores versus 9750H, 6 cores versus 6 core 8750H, and I've got this cool chart. It's on paper here, but we're going to put it up on the screen because you're going to take a better look at it. In yellow is the GE65 Raider in Cinebench R15, all threads, all the way on this big ass stack of laptops. The big bar on top, of course, is Alienware's monstrous Area 51M R1. Why is it so fast? It has a full-on Core i9-9900k desktop part in it, so it's just smoking. But that 8-core 9880H is doing pretty damn good. Look, it's actually a bit faster than the Acer Predator Helios 500, which has a desktop Ryzen 7 2700 in it. So that's 8-core versus 8-core, and this mobile part, which is technically 45 watt TDP, is smoking that desktop part. And it's also well ahead of the Core i9, which is 6 cores of the previous generation, which is, they were just clocked up 6 cores. And same thing, and here's the interesting thing, you're looking at the Origin PC Evo 17X with an 8700K, another desktop part. That 8-core i9-9880H is killing it. 2 more cores, so it's still faster than those desktop parts, which are using a lot more power. And of course, as we go down this entire stack, you see we get to the 6 cores, the 8750Hs, the 9750Hs. They're not competitive with the 8 cores, of course. Not a huge amount, but you're looking at, you know, what, 20%, 30% more performance out of the 8-core part. So pretty respectable. Let's also look at single-threaded performance. Check this out. Number 4 on the list is yellow, the MSI GE65 Raider, single-threaded performance, Cinebench R15, and 199. Pretty damn good. Although you got to say, it's pretty close. On top again, Alienware Area 51M R1 with that desktop Core i9-9900K, killing it, but for the most part, it's all a tie, and actually some of the higher clocked 8950HK mobile parts are pretty close. Single-threaded performance, not a big deal. Although 199 is pretty good because when you look at it, that is pretty decent performance boost. Maybe 10% over i7 8750H and maybe 5% over a 9750H. So pretty respectable. I'm not unhappy. If it can really not destroy the battery in this thing, we're going to find out. I don't have time to do the battery test right now. This is just a preview. Last one is Handbrake. This is taking a 30 gig file, transcoding it using an older version of Handbrake that we use. And again, you can see that 8-core 9880H is up there on this list. Of course, on top, desktop Area 51M R1 9900K, no surprise. And also the Ryzen 7 doing pretty well for an older part, but that is a desktop part. Those are both desktop parts. You are going to get horrible battery life. I don't know the battery life in this yet. We will find out soon, but as you can see, we are still well ahead of all of the desktop and all of the mobile 6-core parts. So it's looking like pretty good performance. The real proof, of course, will be how it does in battery. We will find that out, but also price. I'm going to tell you what this thing costs. There's actually 3 models that I know of so far. MSI has given them to me in one spreadsheet that I had to print out on a little tiny sheet of paper.
That's comical.
I can barely read it, but this particular model, it is the fully loaded version. You get your 8-core 9880. You get your cool little pop-up sticker. That does go away. Whoop. Whoop. It's happy to see you, folks. 1 terabyte SSD, NVMe, 32 gigs of RAM, 240 hertz 1080p panel, about 260 nits is what I'm seeing out of it. They say IPS-like. And of course, 8-core CPU for $2,700, I believe. Let's make sure I got this right. Yes, got to put $2,700 for this particular model. We do see the per key keyboard going on there. And look at this. That's what the lightning is. It lights up.
Ah, okay. We figured it out.
So, but of course, you know, I know you're thinking, well, $2,700 is a lot of money. This same laptop is also available with a 9750H 6-core, 16 gig, 512 configuration with a 2060 for $2,000. Same panel. The only real difference is that CPU. So you step down to a 9750H, a 2070, 16 gigs, a 512 gig SSD, and you get down to $2,000 and go down to $1,800. You still get that 9750H, but now you're at a RTX 2060. I just want to note also that 2070 is a Max Q version. So, but for $1,800, because that's probably what a lot of people are going to be interested. If you're not going to buy for the 8-core, you can get $1,800 this laptop with 2060, 9750H, 6-core, 16 gigs, 512 gigs, $1,800. How does that compare? Let's find out. Let's look at the competition. It's sibling. Definitely lighter, especially because look at this power brick. It's giant, 280 watts, I think. That's just, and it's a big-ass block. This laptop's lighter, it's thinner. It's a little sexier. It's also slower. 9750, 1660 Ti for the GS65, $1,700 with a 16 gig, 512 gigs. So $1,800, just checking the value out. Alienware M15, although I think it's on sale sometimes. This price does seem a little high. Core i7 8750, which is the thing that sort of turns people's noses down. Noses up. 2070, 16 gig, 512 for $2,400. I will say this also has a 4K OLED panel by Samsung. It's just stellar. A lot of money for that OLED panel, but also much thinner. From MSI, or from Acer, Predator, Triton 500, $1,800, 8750, 2060, 16 gig, 512 for $1,800. So actually pretty comparable. These basically are a very similar ballpark. Dell G7, which is crazy, but it's $1,700. Not really. It's $1,400 all day on Dell's website. 9750, 2060, 16 gigs of RAM, 256 gig SSD, 1 terabyte other storage, which I'm going to guess is a hard drive they've jammed in here. That's kind of cool. You get that extra storage. For $1,700, $1,400 is definitely a little lower price. And then the last one, of course, is the best-selling laptop on Amazon. Still is. It's the Acer Predator Helios 300. $1,000. When I reviewed it, it was $1,100. It's now $1,000. 8750 GTX 1060, 16 gigs of RAM. Here's the thing that's going to kill you: only a 256 gig SSD. That's kind of a bummer, but the good news is you can drop a hard drive or another SSD in there very easily, so you can get a little more storage. $1,000 good, but definitely not in this class of performance. So for $1,800, looks like you're sort of competing. Really, this screen is too nice to really put in the same category. You're really competing with its sibling, the GS65, the Triton 500. Similar specs, hardware. 2060, 1660 Ti, pretty much a wash. No ray tracing. So I actually say it's pretty fairly priced, but of course it's what you're going to get at $1,800 is a bigger laptop. It's going to be a little heavier, a little thicker, a much bigger power brick for about the same price. So you really sort of have to choose. I love the thin form factor of these other 15-inch laptops. You also get a 240 hertz option on this one, kind of a plus, but I sort of feel like this is going to be best if you aren't going to carry it around with you every day. And of course, if you really want that 8-core performance, you got to step all the way up to $2,700, 32 gigs of RAM. But you know, you don't have to do it. You could go for the lower end. Then you're just sort of getting a slightly chunkier laptop, but not bad. So
you're going to be doing a full benchmark.
We'll be doing
review.
a full benchmark because I think the performance from what I'm seeing from that mobile 8-core is pretty good. I'll tell you, I haven't seen the MacBook benchmarks. I'm pretty sure this is going to smoke it because it's just bigger. It's got a lot more cooling. It'll be faster in those long loads. But what I want to know is how the power is going to be on this thing, because the 8-core CPU, I'm a little afraid, is going to like kind of kill battery life. But it is a 45 watt TDP part technically, so we'll see how it does in battery life.
Cool, awesome. Thanks, Gordon.